Good morning, Team Elevate. Good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are watching. Welcome to Career Growth with Karen. This is the channel where we have empowering conversations about how you can have a more satisfying, fulfilling, and progressive career. So if that's what you're looking for, you are in the right place. My name is Karen Olege or Karen Gaira. Guys, I was told I am Karen Gaira. And I'm happy to introduce myself as such. And I am a career strategist and a career coach and a HR professional. And I am here to give you a sneak peek into the world of careers. Today, we will be talking about the things that your employer cannot do. There are certain things that your employer cannot do. And there are some employers out here, they may be doing what we are going to be talking about. So what is it that your employer cannot do to you? So let's get started. This is Career Growth with Karen. Okay, guys, so today's conversation is about the things that your employer cannot do. What is it that your boss cannot do to you or your employer generally cannot do to you? Before I continue, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't hit it yet. You are welcome to comment and on this content, to like it, to share it to your friends as well. So the things that your employer cannot do, I will share 5 things. The first thing is to fire you without notice. So guys, it is time that you know your rights. It is 2024. You cannot be fired without notice. Now, this applies where some of us, we have contracts which are for a specified duration. For example, a 1-year contract, a 2-year contract. Of course, if you're on a fixed term contract, this means that when your contract expires, you don't need to be given notice before you're exited, because the contract has just expired. Though some employers, out of courtesy, they will always give you notice and tell you your contract is coming to an expiration and will not be renewing it. But in the middle of your fixed term contract, you cannot be fired without notice. And also, if you're a permanent and pensionable terms employment contract, you also cannot be fired without notice. Now, what do I mean by this? All of you, and this is exceptional of casuals, because casuals, they work on a day-to-day and theirs is a daily rate. You do a daily job with a daily rate. But if you're on permanent pensionable terms, or not even pensionable, just permanent terms, or you are in a fixed contract duration and your contract has not lapsed, then you cannot be fired without notice. Normally, your employment contract will have a clause that you need to be given either 1 month or 2 months or 2 weeks or 1 week notice before you're exited, and your employer has to comply to this. You have to comply to this, and your employer also has to comply to this, except in instances where you're being exited because of a disciplinary matter. Then something called a summary dismissal may be applied to you, and a summary dismissal means you're exiting from today without any notice. But this is only in the instances of a disciplinary matter. But outside of a disciplinary matter, you cannot be exited or fired without notice. So anytime you see this has happened or your employer has done this, you need to know that that is not okay. The second thing, you cannot be summarily dismissed without being asked to give your side of the story or without being heard. So I have already mentioned summary dismissal in my first point. And this is where there is a discipline matter and you have been found culpable of certain undoings or misconduct in the workplace, and therefore you're being asked to exit the company starting today. So in such a case, because it is a disciplinary matter, it needs to have gone through a hearing and you need to have been asked for your side of the story. So guys, when a misconduct happens, at times you have absconded duty in a gross manner. Sometimes it is actually an issue of assault. You have assaulted another staff. It could be that you have committed a fraud. It could be anything, guys, in terms of a misconduct. But this is a misgiving that has been meted upon you. You need to also give your side of the story, because the complainer will be some person, maybe the line manager, maybe the HR, maybe another staff. You need to be asked for your side of the story. If it's an assault, you can't just be told you assaulted this person, so go. No, you need to be asked, is this true? What happened? So you need to have an opportunity to also give your side of the story, because before a decision can be made, we need to hear both sides of the story. And you guys know that if you only lean on one side of the story, you may get things wrong, because some facts may be misrepresented on one end, or the context could be different based on how you explain yourself or how you give your story. And this is not to excuse misconduct in the workplace. It's just to say that both sides of the story need to be heard before a decision can be made. The third thing that your employer cannot do is to reduce your salary, except when it is approved by the labor office. So your salary cannot just be reduced, guys. You cannot just be told you are earning 100K, now you'll be earning 80K. Except in instances where you yourself, you have switched employers. You have left employer A who was giving you 100K, you've gone to employer B who's giving you 80. That is because you have chosen that situation. Or maybe employment ended and you had to go to another employer, and this is the only opportunity you could find. But with the employer that you have, your salary cannot just be reduced. And why I say that this has to be approved by the labor office is because there can be cases of redundancy. There can be cases of catastrophes, like now we had COVID and business went down and now people had to take salary cuts. In instances like that where it's things that we can understand, normally your employer has to explain that to the labor office, and the labor office has to say, yes, we understand indeed COVID is going on and it makes sense for employees to take pay cuts, or this business is not doing well, or there is a bit of redundancy going on here, and therefore people now are being asked to take pay cuts. And that has to be approved by the labor office. And usually it's a lengthy process. So your manager cannot just come from there and actually just reduce your pay. And especially it cannot happen to an individual's pay. Normally when there is things like COVID or things like redundancy, it doesn't affect one staff. It's usually an organizational problem or even a global problem that if pay cuts are being taken, it's not just one person, it's many people in the business to keep the business afloat. And that's why the labor office needs to approve. But for you as an individual, your employer cannot just come from nowhere and say you are earning 50K, now your salary will be 40K. No, that cannot happen. The fourth thing, they cannot withhold the company HR policies and other policies from you guys. I know many people who say they don't even know what the company policies are, and sometimes when you ask HR, they don't give them to you. I don't understand this, because the policies are like the constitution. It's like in a country like Kenya, we have a constitution. You need to have the constitution for you to know how to operate within that country. So can you imagine if we had a constitution and yet us as the citizens, we can't access it, we can't know the contents? So how are we supposed to operate within the confines of a constitution which we cannot have access to? So it's the same thing with you as a staff. You need to have access to the employment policy. It's not a secretive document. And maybe HR think it's a secret document. It is not. It talks about your operations in the organization as a staff. So by all means, you need to have this. And a good employer will always share this with you, or it will always be somewhere on your intranet or somewhere in some shared document somewhere where you can just access it on the go, because this is a reference document which you should always be ready to refer to at any point. If you want to take leave, you can refer to the policy and see what it says about leave. If you're sick and you want to see how you can access sick leave, you should be able to refer to the document. So you need to have access to the company policy, and this needs not to be withheld from you. Fifth, they cannot deduct any portion of your salary without information. So here I'm not talking about statutory deductions. Statutory deductions, those ones we also do not sometimes agree with them, but we have to comply because they're statutory. But what I mean is, for example, if you owe me money, I cannot come to your employer and tell them, because this person owes me money and I have been asking for my money back and they're not giving it to me, now I want you to check it off their pay. It can never happen. They cannot check off that money from your salary unless you consent. Unless it's a statutory deduction, it can only happen under your consent. So even when we have employee welfare schemes, if we have loans that you have taken, even you could have taken a loan from the bank cannot come and ask your employer to recover that loan from your pay slip without your consent. So there is no amount that can be deducted without your own consent and without your information as an employee, except for statutory deductions. And the last one, they cannot deny you your planned annual leave. Guys, we all have 21 days of leave as per the law. Your organization could give more, but as per the law, we have 21 leave days in a year, and they are paid leave days. If you have planned your leave and you have notified your employer or your line manager, you have had a conversation. Of course, I advise, if you have been following my conversations, I always advise that in as much as leave is your right, you need to plan it. so that you don't just call today and you say, I'm on leave for the next 1 week. Of course, we understand there's work that you're doing. So it is good to give notice to your employer. You plan and you choose a season or a time when there is not so much work, or even if there is work, but you have planned how your work is going to be catered for as you are away. As long as you have put in your plan, you should not be denied leave. And I'm talking also to managers out there and HR out there. Some of us are culprits. We just deny people leave for the sake of denying people leave. And it gets to the end of the year and somebody has actually not taken their 21 days of leave. You're denying someone rest. Why? It shouldn't be like that. Everybody deserves rest, and people don't need to justify why they are taking leave. Guys, people just need rest. Like, I don't need to tell you, it's because my grandmother has died. We're actually forcing people to kill others because we are saying they must justify reasons for taking leave. If somebody is going on leave, they're going on leave. Whether they're going on holiday, whether they just want to sleep for a whole week because they are resting, it is okay. So we don't need to ask for justifications on why. And you also, as a staff, you don't need to be giving reason as to why you're going on leave, because when you give reason, then you make the organization feel like people should be giving reason. So don't give reason. Just plan your leave. Say that from this time to this time I want to be away. Plan it early. Talk to your line manager, and they have no reason to deny you your annual planned leave. As long as it is within the 21 days that are provided for by the law, or even more as provided by your own company policy. So guys, I hope I have given you some insights into what your employer cannot do. And I say this to sensitize us, but also to sensitize the employers as well, the HRs and the managers as well, so that they know what can and cannot be done. So if you like this content, please subscribe to this channel, comment on it, like it, share it with your friends so that they can also be part of the conversation. And guys, remember to have a conversation with me in the comment section. Am I correct? Remember, most of these things are my thoughts, my research, and my opinions. So you're free to also tell me what are your opinions, what's your take. Are there employers that have done these things to you now or in the past? And you can give us your experiences, and let's share more in the comment section. Until next time, see you soon.